Today, our government is investing in a stronger tomorrow. This plan to grow the Heritage Fund is more than just numbers and strategies. It's about ensuring that we are preparing a secure future for our families, children, and grandchildren. It is our commitment to ensuring Alberta remains the best place to call home long into the future, with our plan to grow the Alberta Heritage Savings Trust Fund to at least $250 billion by 2050. Many of us know the importance of planning ahead. We all know the value of having a savings account, whether we're actually able to set money aside for it or not. While we manage day-to-day expenses, it's important to know that we are putting money aside for unforeseen expenses, but also for a time when we are retired or potentially lose our income. That's the same motivation at play with our plan for the Heritage Fund. Alberta is blessed with abundant natural resources. This year, Alberta expects to bring in about $20.3 billion in forecast oil and gas revenues. This accounts for more than 26% of the 24-25 budget and goes a long way to support our province. But that revenue is increasingly volatile, risking our budget and our economy. Since fall 2024, oil prices have been fluctuating sometimes below $70 per barrel, and each dollar drop in price reduces revenue by approximately $630 million. I've been spending days in meetings with my cabinet colleagues. January is a time where I don't get a lot of sunshine because of the time the members of Treasury Board spend in budget deliberations reading spreadsheets. But as we put together Budget 2025, the price of oil is something we have to factor into every decision. And unfortunately, our oil revenues do not grow with our population. That is why it is so important to plan ahead now. We are committed to grow the Heritage Fund so that it provides long-term economic security for future generations. To achieve this, we must prioritize reinvestment of annual earnings that will compound over the long term and achieve meaningful growth year over year. This was the vision former Premier Peter Lougheed and his government had when they created the fund in 1976. As the Premier mentioned, his son Joe will be the chair of the Heritage Fund Opportunities Corporation. They would put a portion of Alberta's oil and gas revenue away so that the next generations would benefit from it. And initially, all the investment income from the Heritage Fund was reinvested into the fund with no withdrawals. In just 10 years, the fund achieved extraordinary growth from 88 million to about 1.6 billion, an increase of more than 18 times its original size. If this fund had been maintained over the last 5 decades, the Heritage Fund could have been upwards of 250 billion today, generating more than 20 billion annually. We've had some success already. As the Premier mentioned, since 2019, the fund has grown by nearly 50%. We're restoring the original intended vision of the Heritage Fund, but strengthening the fund with a modern, sophisticated approach. Using the tools and expertise available to us today, we can grow the Heritage Fund to create lasting wealth for future generations. In fall 2024, we established the Heritage Fund Opportunities Corporation. Supported by a world-class board, the new corporation will govern and support the growth of all Heritage Fund assets, ensuring we maximize returns. This structure draws on global best practices from countries that have achieved long-term success in managing similar funds. In the fall, I traveled to Singapore and Japan, where I met with 4 of the 5 largest sovereign wealth funds in the world and had discussions around these best practices. With a mandate to deliver long-term maximization of Alberta's provincial wealth, the board will be grounded in the principles of stewardship, independence, and enhancing the Alberta identity. Of course, we know investment portfolios never go up in a straight line. That is simply a natural part of investing. We are confident in our ability to navigate complexities along the path to prosperity. The new corporation will strengthen partnerships with global sovereign wealth funds to elevate the Heritage Fund's profile internationally, unlocking access to new top-tier opportunities. The initial deposit to the new corporation will be the $2 billion earmarked for the Heritage Fund in Budget 2024. The initial results and progress of this work are expected by the end of the 25-26 fiscal year. I know that many of you had questions around the income from the fund and our newly established practice of leaving the income in the fund at our quarterly fiscal updates, and hopefully today's announcement shows you the rest of our plan. Growing the Heritage Fund from $25 billion to $250 billion in 25 years is an ambitious and bold goal. If it was easy, it would have happened already. Peter Lougheed had a vision that the fund would eventually replace resource revenue, but very quickly the revenue was appropriated for other tasks. But with our plan, this growth is achievable. We have set new standards for the Heritage Fund by adopting proven strategies from countries like Norway, Singapore, Australia, and New Zealand, and we will follow their leadership in governance and investment excellence. This is a key part of our fiscal commitment and our broader plan for Alberta's long-term financial independence and stability. And by reinvesting returns each and every year, we will ensure a lasting legacy for the province, one that honors the past, supports the present, and secures the future for generations to come. This moment in history, with geopolitical uncertainty, a decade of volatile energy prices, and countless other factors, show us that we are at the moment for firm resolve to make the decisions that are tough and rise to the moment. The Premier has provided that vision and the leadership to grow the fund. We must continue it for the sake of our children, grandchildren, and future Albertans.